On West Asia is on a brink of an all-out war. Israel has launched missiles at Iran, and that too on their nuclear sites, including Natanz oil refinery in Haifa, Sharon oil depot and others. Now, this is an unprecedented operation by Israel. On the other hand, Iran is vowing for stern retaliation, and its missiles are causing multiple casualties in Israel. And amid this escalating fight between Israel and Iran, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made a stunning claim saying that Iran wants to kill United States President Donald Trump, and he is also the #1 enemy of Tehran due to his tough stance on Tehran's nuclear ambitions. In an interview with foreign media outlet, Netanyahu asserted that through proxies and through Iranian intelligence, Tehran tried to kill President of United States. He further added that Republican president is a decisive leader and he never took the path that others did, especially when it comes to Tehran's nuclear ambitions, and hence the Islamic nation views Trump as #1 threat and wants to eliminate him. Netanyahu, in his latest address, reiterated Trump's clear support to Israel in its action against Iran, praising Republican president's decisive leadership. Now, this stunning claim by Netanyahu came after 2 U.S. officials revealed that U.S. President Donald Trump rejected an Israeli proposal to assassinate Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. However, Netanyahu's spokesperson Omar Dostri later called reports about the Israeli plan to kill Khamenei fake. Iran and Israel are engaged in a deadly conflict, but Republican President Donald Trump is hopeful that Israel and Iran can strike ceasefire deal. Listen into what he said.
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
In its deadliest operation ever, Israel has struck deep into Iran nuclear sites, oil refineries, government buildings, even fuel tanks. Iran has issued a fresh statement saying that it is not open to ceasefire talks while under attack as Israel continues to destroy its missile and weapon sites. Iran reported that around 224 people have been killed in Israeli strikes, while 14 fatalities have been reported in Israel and over 300 have been injured. From the Natanz to Sharon oil depot and others, we will take you through videos that capture the moments of attack on Iran's precious nuclear facilities and oil refineries. Let's first talk about Iran's main center for uranium enrichment, and that was also a prime target of the Israeli strikes. Columns of smoke rose over Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility. Footage aired by Iran's state media showed the aftermath of several explosions on the horizon at the nuclear facility. Israel even bombed the world's largest gas field in Iran, which is South Pars gas field, located in Iran's Bushehr province. Israeli airstrike caused a fire at one of its key processing units, and this was also Israel's first direct strike on Iran's oil and gas infrastructure. Israeli warplanes also struck the Sharon oil depot in western Tehran, a major fuel storage hub. Iran's oil ministry claimed that the fire is under control, but videos emerging out of the country show flames raging at the site. And in fact, we are now being joined by Raz Zimt, the director at INSS for Iran and the Shiite Access Program. Thank you very much for giving us your time. I'd like to know from you, what is your assessment of the current state of the Iran-Israel conflict?
Well, Israel has certainly made some significant progress in its attempts to degrade Iran's nuclear facilities program and other strategic and military assets. But it's still early to say. We are still at the beginning of this campaign. And the main objective has always been to delay as much as possible Iran's nuclear program, and it might take some time.
But how would you interpret the actual status of Iran's nuclear ambitions? Do you think Iran will consider nuclear concessions under pressure?
So that's a very difficult question to answer, because Iran has always considered its nuclear program as a kind of insurance for the stability of the regime. So I'm not sure Iran is going to be ready so quickly to give up its right to enrich uranium inside Iran. Having said that, as the war continues, as there are more and more pressures on Iran, which could evolve into a credible threat to the stability of the regime, that might pave the way for Iranian decision to give up some of its positions.
But could it lead to a broader regional conflict involving other state and non-state actors?
Well, I certainly hope that it won't happen. I think that it's mostly up to Iran. If Iran wants to expand the war into a regional war, it can certainly do that. If Iran decides to attack U.S. bases in the region or strategic assets in the Gulf, that could certainly evolve into a regional escalation. But my sense is that right now Iran doesn't want to take this risk. Iran doesn't want to engage the United States into a direct war with Iran. And if that's the case, then I think that we will probably see the continued efforts by Iran to concentrate on Israel, and we will continue to see this direct confrontation between Israel and Iran without being dragged to a regional confrontation.
But, do you think the axis of resistance has been weakened after months of sustained confrontation with Israel?
Yes, of course. I think it's very clear that Hamas is very much weakened. Hezbollah, which has always been the #1 priority from the Iranian perspective in the region, and its main element in order to deter Israel and even to retaliate in case of an Israeli activity against Iran. Hezbollah is not out, but it's certainly down. Hezbollah was so weakened that actually it has decided, at least for now, not to retaliate to the Israeli activity inside Iran. And perhaps most importantly is the fact that Syria, which has been a major component of this axis and also a ground corridor which enabled Iran to support Hezbollah, the Assad regime has collapsed. So at the end of the day, Iran has certainly lost a major component of its deterrence capability vis-à-vis Israel.
Now, Israel has even struck an oil facility in western Tehran. What could be the strategic objectives behind targeting the energy sector now?
So I'm not sure that the energy installation is one of the priorities right now from the Israeli point of view. But I would assume that as the war evolves and escalates, we might see more and more Israeli retaliation to the Iranian attacks on civilians inside Israel by targeting other strategic and more civilian targets inside Iran. And although I said that the main objective by Israel is to degrade Iran's nuclear program, there is also a secondary objective, and this is to weaken the Iranian regime. And one of the ways to do that is targeting economic and other strategic infrastructures in Iran, which might perhaps put more pressure on Iran to soften its position in a future negotiations.
What could be the possible outcomes? What do you foresee? Regime change, prolonged war, or mutual exhaustion?
I don't think that regime change right now is on the table. Of course, we can't know if and when the regime in Iran is going to change, but this is certainly not the objective of the Israelis. I personally have always said that if there is going to be a regime change in Iran, it's going to be from inside Iran rather than forced upon Iran from the external. But having said that, as the war evolves, there is always a possibility that the Iranian regime will be weakened even further, that it will lose vital abilities and capabilities relating to its security, military, intelligence apparatus, and that by itself, at the end of the day, might perhaps weaken the Iranian regime up to a point where it's becoming more vulnerable to domestic, not just to external threats from inside.
Now, there are reports that Donald Trump vetoed an Israeli decision to assassinate Ayatollah Khamenei. But was this on cards?
I don't think so. I'm not sure that at this point Israel wants to target Iranian leadership. But again, it all goes back to the question of how this war is going to to evolve. I think that if, as we all expect and hope, this war is going to be over in a matter of several weeks, and Israel accomplishes its main objectives, mostly referring to Iran's nuclear and perhaps missiles capabilities, I see no reason for Israel to try and target the Iranian leadership or the political leadership, because the military leadership is something else. But this is a war which can certainly escalate, and as long as the Iranian continues to attack civilian targets in Israel, and Israel continues to attack targets in Iran, at some point we might see an escalation, including some kind of symbols of the Iranian regime or Iranian officials. Although this is, at least for now, not the main target by Israel.
Well, there has been another significant development. We're given to understand that the Iranian parliament is contemplating withdrawal from the non-proliferation treaty. It has in fact also introduced a bill to that effect. How do you see this development? Do you think it would mark an escalation on their part?
I'm not sure that Iran has decided to do that. I think what was reported according to my knowledge, is that the Iranian Majlis, the Iranian parliament, has decided to call upon the Iranian leadership to withdraw from the NPT. This was quite likely. We assume that in case of an Israeli attack, they might try to do that. But at the end of the day, I still think that Iran understands that with really withdrawing the NPT is a very risky decision. It can actually encourage the United States to play a direct role in the campaign against Iran. So I'm not sure that even a resolution passed by the Iranian Majlis will lead to the eventual decision by Iran to withdraw from the NPT. Although this is, of course, one of the tools which Iran is capable of using.
Mr. Zim, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for giving us your time.